Oh, it's a full moon episode, and guess what? We're going to talk about everything moon related, including how it affects your particular sign. So go ahead and sit back, watch the intro, and follow me and Shannon as we take you along the path of what makes the moon tick in us.
I think all of us can say that we fear that leap of faith, that finding comfort in other people, that going the extra distance and seeing the things we never thought possible in ourselves and in others. And that is the ultimate wonder experience.
Welcome, everybody, to September 20th. And with the date of September 20th comes the full moon. And what that means is there's going to be werewolves that are going to attack you in massive hordes. No, I'm kidding. It is just another simple time where the full moon comes out and people act crazy in the world. And I've gotten a lot of questions, I guess, about, well, what does my moon sign mean? And today with me is Shannon Shine, who decided to chime in on some of her thoughts on the whole thing. Hi, Shannon.
Hi there. Excited to talk about the moon. I know you have a lot to say about what the moon sign means, as well as how the full moon affects us. And I think it's quite appropriate that we release your podcast on a full moon since you're so into astrology.
Yeah, it's people like my Taurus friend, for example, think it's kind of a kavit or whatever you want to call it. So just a disclaimer, this isn't advice of any sort, or I guess what would be the words that I would use here, something that's going to help change your life forever in a way that will just make you a multimillionaire. This is just simply translations and interpretations on what it means for any of the particular signs that you have in your moon.
So what does the moon actually mean in somebody's chart, even besides like what realm it's in, like what house it's in? What does the moon affect in general in somebody's
So the
astro
moon
chart?
is basically your core inner being, how you think, how you feel, how you reflect inward, how you emotionally deal with things, so to speak. Basically, in a nutshell, pretty much like your subconscious. And so if your sun is the outward reflection that everybody sees, this one's going to be more of the internal and instinctual feminine energy that's inside of you. The natural house for this particular planet or body is Cancer, which is probably one of the most emotional signs if you've ever encountered one. Believe me, I have met several in my travels and in my journeys, and they are quite the characters.
Yeah, Cancer sun signs can be quite the characters, that's for sure. And also in general, is that why people are extra emotional around the full moon, do you think?
Well, it could be a combination of things. Some women cycle around that time, so to speak. So instinctively with their, because what people don't understand is that when a woman goes through that cycle, she's actually weakening herself. And so another thing that people don't understand is that when a man releases himself via hanky panky or whatever, he is actually releasing a lot of his energy away. So that then therefore weakens both parties. But the moon I mean, I would like to think it plays some primal instinctual role upon us and in our ancestors. I mean, it does in wolves, it's been seen in birds. Turtles, sea turtles, for example, use the moon to get to the ocean based off the reflection and where it is in the sky. That's why there is not lights around a beach that has turtles on it. There's also bats use it to find their prey better. Fun fact, bats are actually not that blind. They actually can see really well. So much so, in fact, that they hibernate during the day because the sun is so bright in their eyes. But that's a story for another time. A couple other things with the moon is it definitely affects our Earth. That's why we have tides. That's why we have waves. That's why, just like the Great Lake of Michigan, will actually have a bulge in it when the moon is present over that particular part of the hemisphere of Earth. By the way, me and Shannon did go to Chicago, and we did see some stones and stuff that were of astrological origin, which is pretty cool. You know, you got the
Yeah.
asteroids and the olivine crystals inside of the asteroids. It's pretty sweet. You even touched one. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And it's also really neat being in Chicago because those that listen to other podcasts I'm a part of on the Bring Me to Life network, a lot of them are based in Michigan. So I've been to one side of Lake Michigan. It was actually really magical to be on the other side of Lake Michigan and explore that area with you. It was quite a different perspective of that lake. But in general, I like how you said that the moon affects us here on Earth because, I mean, if it's affecting the tides and all the big bodies of water, we're made of mostly water. So the moon has to really have an effect on us as well. And I've always kind of thought that's why people got a little edgy and emotional and just kind of in a different mindset around the moon. Like you said, some of us are cycling around then, but usually a lot of guys get a little bit more frisky around that time as well. So it is just this interesting energetic pull that the full moon has
Well,
on
it's
us.
been an integral part of human history. You know, you look back at the Aztecs, the Mayans, even some European cultures, well, most European cultures, when the moon would go through solar eclipses, or, you know, there'd be a full moon on a particular day of the month of the year. For Aztec and Mayan cultures, they would have certain festivals or sacrificial rituals. And that's not to say that you guys should, like, you know, do any of those things. That, yeah, just don't be crazy like that. I think there was even at one point a serial killer that would go out on the full moon, but I need to research further into that. So
That's pretty
humans
wild.
are definitely crazy around this particular time. So it's not.
And it's a time marker. The sun goes up and down every day, but you can lose track of how many days you've had. But the moon, it goes through phases. So you can see the consecutive amount of time that helped create our month system as well. So the moon has definitely played a part in many different ways of our society's growth.
Yeah. So fun fact about that moon cycle, it actually occurs every 29.5 days to make a full ellipse back into its fullness. So
Hmm.
you know, you have the first quarter, the full moon, and the last quarter, and then all the phases in between. So um, it's it's very much, and when people start to understand that when they see the moon and they see like a crescent, they have to realize that our our body, Earth, is cascading its shadow upon the moon, which is also an interesting aspect to think about because we don't really think outside of ourselves in celestial terms on just how massive things get affected and
Hmm.
how, I guess, synchronistic things have to be. Like, for instance, you know, during, I think it was 2017, no, it was 2016. 2016 is when we had that lunar eclipse that occurred during the month of Leo. And so Leo's really felt that. And I was one of those. I had just come out to California. I had just started tower climbing. I was fresh to the scene in an industry that, you know, on average kills about 15 people a year. To try and, you know, leave everything that I'd ever known for, you know, pretty much 25 years of my life and go and do something like that was a tremendous transformation and change. So,
Wild, wild stuff.
was there anything going on around that time for you during that particular period, or
What year was that you're speaking on?
that would have been 2016 August 20th? I'm not No, it was before my birthday, so it would have been August like 1st.
Trying to remember. I feel like I was at some sort of festival of sorts, and I'm sure there was something chaotic happening. I'd have to look in one of my journals, but I'll have to check in on that and get back with you. But for now, I feel like we could talk about different eclipses and moon happenings and many other podcasts to come. But today, I really want to get some information out of you. You're doing these astro readings, and I want
We
people
actually
to,
just had one with Francine.
yeah, it
Shout
was
out to Francine out there.
pretty powerful stuff. You've done a few for some people I've known, including my own. I'm pretty sure you've been through my astro chart with a fine tooth comb at this point.
I
But
mean, yeah, there's a reason for that, but ooh.
in general, so many people have had questions for me about sun signs, moon signs, Venus, whatever signs, and it's kind of above my head. You've helped school me in a lot of it, and I want your listeners to know that if they are curious about their own chart, they can reach out to you. But in general, today, I would love to go through the different moon signs and just give a really kind of short and sweet overview of each sign, so no sign feels left behind, and we can get people started on understanding their charts in a better way.
Yep, definitely. We don't want to exclude the Cancers or the Pisces, as they're most emotionally charged, and they'll feel left out and neglected. So
let's just start at the top of the zodiac food chain here, with the beginning of the Aries for now. What's
the
an Aries
Ram.
moon? Yeah, what's an Aries
So
moon like?
a little depiction of the Ram. The Ram Aries is somebody that pulled the chariot of Apollo across the sky to get the sun to go up and down, to rise and set in the sky. So this particular person is somebody that is a doer. And when they do things, they kind of reckless abandon do things. They don't really, you know, take much time to think it through. They're fiery, they're driven, they're motivated, they're very full of themselves, as some would say. And I think one of the key features, or kind of the negative things about this sign, is that nothing quite happens fast enough for them. Like, it has to be like now, here, and they're incredibly independent. They one of their positives is that they hold themselves in a high regard, being the first sign. And one of the more kind of negative things is they get really defensive. So the ego can be extremely bruised with this particular person. And that's just kind of something to look out for.
So as we go through these signs, we're talking about the moon, not the sun. So people often know their sun sign. They might not know their moon sign.
Right. So this is an inward reflection of how a person would carry themselves and how they go about instinctually navigating their emotions through the world, if that makes sense to people.
Okay. And if they don't know how to find their moon, they can reach out to you. But we're going to just, again, go through so we talked about Aries, then that brings us to, I believe, Taurus is next.
Yes. So Taurus, right? Taurus is the bull, the ox, the one that paved the way for fields to be made. They are a fixed sign. So Aries is a cardinal, Taurus is a fixed. And what that means is they are persevering but stubborn. So if you've ever met a Taurus, you know just how incredibly strong-willed these people are. Now, these people are very down to earth, very mellow. They revel in material comforts. They're patient, they're kind, they're caring. More often than not, their inner mind is exceptionally beautiful in a way that not a lot of those signs can really transcode into other people. And they feel their emotions, but they don't really sit and ponder on the negative, because I got a field to plow. I gotta put good seeds in for the harvest. And they're not necessarily one that's okay with change. They're very conservative, very reserved. So they try to avoid messy or unpredictable situations, crises. They're very much not drama queens or kings. And one of kind of, I guess, the negative things that could be with this is they're so set in their ways that if something comes along to where they need to change, it is kind of a detriment, because more often than not, they won't. So it's just kind of something to look out for. But overall, good placement for this particular person. They're very loyal and they're very caring, and you'll definitely know. Yeah.
All right. So then what about a Gemini moon?
So Gemini is an air sign. And if I'm not mistaken, Gemini is mutable. So lunar Geminis are incredibly witty, sarcastic, charming, pleasant. One of the kind of detriments to this particular person is they have a streak of restlessness. You have two twins playing inside your inner mind, and they sometimes don't really like housework. They generally are often doing things in a perpetual work of progress, very much so. They are the ones that organize things, make the get-togethers, but they're not really the most organized when it comes to doing it. They just know how to get people together, and that's really a good trait. And inside their mind, they reflect a lot on the grass is greener on the other side. You know, and it's hard to sometimes get past that. But if they can balance that out and make sure that their wittiness is not being insulting, they can get along with a lot of people. They're very open. They're very free. They, they're kind of a balance. They like this. They generally like to see balance, but that's not to say that they don't enjoy new ideas or philosophies or just discussions in general. They're very much they need stimulation. Is a good way to put it.
So before we dive into Cancer, you mentioned that you think Gemini is a mutable sign. What does it mean if something is mutable?
So mutable would be kind of like, okay, so if I could put it in demographics as far as like, let's just put it in political terms because I think people would be better suited to understand it that way. So, for example, a mutable sign would be more like liberal, democratic. Cardinal sign would be the middle, right? It's neither liberal nor conservative. And then the fixed signs would be the conservatives. So basically, if we could look at it as the age of a person, a mutable sign would be a teenager. A cardinal would be kind of like somebody between their 25 to 35 years old. They've experienced a little bit of life, so they're not really swaying one way or the other. And then the old man John, just sitting there at like 55 to 60, he's experienced life, he's stuck in his ways, he's not really going to budge on things. Is kind of how that works.
So I still don't know if you answered my question. So immutable means that like as you age, then you're.
So a mutable's personality is a lot more free. It's free
Okay.
flowing. It's not strict. A cardinal's is they kind of try to find the balance between the two, and then a conservative's or not a conservative. Sorry, I'm mixing things up.
Yeah, you've got me way confused now.
A fixed sign is somebody who it is very hard to move what they believe in or what they feel or what they just they're
So can it be
they're very
muted
much like a
by
rock.
Can it be muted by other signs in your chart? So like let's say somebody has a Venus and a fixed sign that could overpower, maybe their emotions coming from their mutable moon sign or something like that?
Well, it depends. There's so many variables within a chart that it's
Okay.
it's really kind of a case to case person.
Okay.
And you know sometimes in areas like, for example, let's just say Mercury, having a fixed sign in Mercury is not always the greatest because you need to have those communication skills. You know what I mean? So probably more like a mutable or even a free flowing sign like a Pisces or a Virgo, or even trying to think of the others. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Sorry, I was trying to think of all the.
I know I threw some curveball questions at you. All right,
Yeah.
let's get back to the moon. So the moon in Cancer,
Okay.
what's it mean?
So Moon in Cancer, this is the home body of this particular celestial body. So this is the ruler of the moon. Yeah. So Cancers are very in touch, very intuitive, very free flowing in their thoughts, and they have impeccable memories of the past, and they hold that in their mind with almost 4K quality. It's ridiculous. They are people that seek security. They seek peace and quiet. Basically, anything you can think of as a crab, when you find it on the beach, they don't like to be disturbed. They don't like to be disrupted. They certainly don't like war or violence or any particular things. They are a very devoted people and do not like superficiality, and they love their peace. And one of the detriments is that these people can be incredibly insecure to almost the default. It's just in their nature because they feel so much. And they, as a result, can sometimes use that insecurity to be manipulative so they won't get hurt. And if they can find balance with the fact that not everybody's going to please them, and there are some people that aren't going to give them the highest praise, then, they'll do well in life. People with this particular sign have a really extraordinary sense of humor. They can see both the dark, the light, and just pretty much anything in between as far as a joke. But the other thing is with being such an emotionally charged sign, is their moodiest can be quite the struggle for their partner or somebody else. And depending on what their communication in Mercury is, that could also have an effect on how they can relay that to their partner. So just something to look out for. But overall, they're kind, compassionate, caring, very nurturing, very kind in the ways they go about thinking.
All right, interesting. I think that brings us to Leo. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't your moon in Leo?
Yes, my moon is definitely in Leo.
You got a whole lot of Leo, so I got to
I
remember
got a
what
whole
all
lot of
signs they
Leo.
are.
Yeah. So Leo people, the regal sign, the placement for Leo, by the way, is in the sun, for those that don't know. So the prime spot for Leo is in the sun. But so some aspects, since I can kind of relate to this, is they have really intense, flighty, and dramatic emotions at times, depending on how passionate they are about things. I'm pretty sure you can attest to that.
You don't say. Go on.
And they're very regal. They carry themselves with a high regard. So if you see somebody that doesn't particularly, I guess, look like a typical Leo, the way they carry themselves is distinct. I guess it's you and a couple other people that tell me that I just walk in like I'm a bull in a china shop. Which, fun fact, bulls in china shops actually don't destroy things. They walk with a lot of grace and power. So I'll take that as a compliment any day of the week. They have a display for theatrics and dramatics, and one of their flaws is they love attention. That's kind of just, if we're not getting attention, we can be moody, we can be bossy. Sometimes we can be incredibly lazy, but we do have an ability to just entertain people distinctly. We do, as kings and queens, want to treat people fairly. We want people to feel just. We want to feel like they're not ignored or belittled, and vice versa. We really hate when our emotions are belittled or put to the wayside. And we particularly are really good at dancing, writing, poetry. It's a very creative sign to have in this particular aspect, because as you know, most art is fueled by emotions. And since Leos feel so deeply about things and passionately, we express that through our art. So yeah. I
feel like that's Leos in most signs. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So that brings us to Virgo.
So Virgos, this is a sign of quintessentially analysis. And, they are very straightforward, and they want to straighten out details of their everyday life. If it's not, I'm sorry for you Virgo people out there. They enjoy running errands, paying bills, and balancing books. And yeah, so these people are very laborious in their intentions. I say laborious with a regard to, other signs. They are very happy about taking care of things, and sometimes they won't let go, and they can kind of be nagging, because they have such a pivotal perspective on how things should do. and sometimes they can be viewed as underachievers. You know, they don't have they're okay. They're okay with the mellow. They're okay with the, you know, day-to-day life. They don't need, you know, impracticalities or varying equations that's going to disrupt their straight orderly structure in life. They very much need a steady routine and a satisfying job, or even just a simple job that they can just do without even thinking. And that's kind of a detriment, because if they're in a job where they don't feel in their element, they can be very much thrown off. Another thing about a Virgo is that they think a lot. So they can be quite a nutshell inside of their own mind, and they don't know how to escape. As such, they can get fussy. They can get into a routine of freak out sessions where their plans just don't, like, I put one step in front of the other and then I put this part here. Why is the machine not working? You know, it's they are very suited for like an analyzed, detail oriented and micromanaging sort of way of thinking and life, and just planning things. And they are not all that shy either. You know, some people think Virgo people are shy. It just kind of depends. But here in the moon, they are practical, and practicality comes with sometimes, you know, going in for the kill.
I see. Just thinking about the people and what moon sign they could be, because you don't really easily know somebody's moon sign. That's one you kind of have to have like a specific time on. So unless you like know a person, it's harder to tell what their moon is on the outside.
There's some, so I guess there's some ways you could go about it. So for instance, a Pisces moon, which I think is yours, correct? If I'm mistaken.
You are mistaken. I am a Pisces
Okay.
rising.
Oh no, I know who that was. Yeah.
Scorpio
Okay.
moon. Yes, I know who it is too.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that one. So we'll get to those moon signs. I don't want to lose track of where we're at.
Right. So like I said, you can kind of tell in the way a person walks, and also kind of the way, when you have pauses in conversation, the way a person looks or moves, or just, but you have to be incredibly intuitive to pick up on those things. So
I think next we're at Libra. What's a Libra moon like?
Libra. So Libra is the scales, the just and the balancing. These particular people have an incredibly strong need for partnership, because let's face it, on the scales, you need a weight on one side and you need a weight on another in order to balance it out. And if you're doing all the work and doing all the things, that scale's going to plummet quicker than you can say, oh my God, we lost a lot of money. They often get in arrangements at quite a young age because of this. They love harmony, peace, and they believe sharing is powerful. As such is common, you know, if you're trying to balance out things and you're putting certain things in certain places in order to get a specific outcome or a specific weight, since you're the scale, this is what you do. They feel safe and secure when they're in a partnership, and when they're not, they can be quite flighty, emotional, and sometimes a little bit defensive. They can have a little bit of flaws. One of them being is if something's out of whack, it can send them into just this kind of slumpy, depressive state until they balance their stuff back out. And you know, one of the hard things with winning against a scale and a just and lawyer-like figure is winning an argument is a tactical specialty. So if you can do that, congrats, because not a lot of people can. So this could also be kind of how they rule and run in their relationships with people. In their mind, they're like, I know what this person's going to say. I got a detailed plan of what I'm going to come back with. And let's be honest, Libra people have a lawyer-like ability to just not only analyze and support you, but also be like, hey, you need to fix this one thing. One of the downfalls to these people is that they can't analyze themselves. I don't know if you guys have met a lot of lawyers or a lot of people that are in the justice system, but they don't tend to look at themselves a lot. So an ideal partner would be somebody that's going to like reflect kind of the flaws that they have and how they can fix them.
Cool. Got it. So that takes us to the Scorpio moon, which is actually my moon
Usually
sign.
your sign, yeah. So Scorpios are incredibly loyal and emotionally intense people. They are a fixed sign. This is the fixed water sign, and they dig. And what I mean by dig is when they are looking for emotions or they're seeing behind the scenes in a person's mind, they try to very much dig out the scruff and the dirt and everything else to try and get to whatever's at the bottom of that hole.
We like to know things.
Yes, very much so. Secret detectives, private eyes, those kind of people. That's what you gotta. Their ability is in the fact that they can just sense and see things because they have so many eyes and they have so many feels out in the world. If you've ever seen a Scorpio, one of its innate traits is it has a lot of eyes, and not only that, it has a lot of hairs that gives it signals to what's going on in its environment. And as such, a person with this in their moon has the ability to just see in a way that others sometimes can't or won't, and it can be wildly attractive to them depending on how they go about it and how they display it to the audience. They must have emotionally intense, powerful lives. If they don't, they can feel distraught. They can go into bad habits of, sometimes drinking excessively or doing things excessively that isn't always to their betterment as a person. And they can be dramatic at times.
What?
Most fixed
Me?
signs are.
Never.
Yeah, I know, right? Getting you
Never.
all in the fifis.
Ugh.
They have an intense need to have intense experience because they have such intense sensations, emotions, and feelings, and just general knowledge about the world around them. They can have a streak of shyness, but generally, depending on their sun sign, since yours is in Leo, it can vary. They innately radiate a strength because they have a very hard exterior shell that they use to protect them from emotional traumas that may or may not have happened in life.
Hmm.
And as such, people seek and want that. Their intuition is, bar none, probably you're not going to get much past them. So be careful.
Yeah, not much gets past us. It's true.
They're also very intelligent and astute.
Now you're just sucking up. All right, let's move on to Sagittarius.
Yeah, I know, right? Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is the wound healer. So we'll talk about that at a later time. But the story of Sagittarius was that he was actually somebody that people came to when they were on their journeys as heroes, people such as Hercules or I think Perseus at one point went there. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to brush up. But basically, he would heal the warriors and he'd send them on their way. So, as the archer, you have a intense need for social interactions. You're easygoing and happy, and people generally can talk to you just about anything. They need freedom, they need personal space, and they are very much outdoorsy. They need a change for scenery often, and they do not like regular routines. They also are very instinctually inclined to friendly competition. The detriment to this sign is that when things get tough, they tend to run away. They don't want to deal with it. They don't like to be caught up in a routine for too long, and they don't want to be stuck somewhere where they can't get a solution to the problem relatively easily. They have a sort of blind faith that everything's just going to work out for whatever reason. I don't know. I've healed so many people thus far. We don't need plans. We got it. Like, And as such, sometimes, somebody might just shoot an arrow back at you, which might be poisonous and what might send you in a downward spiral. So you need to be careful of that. And yes, that was a depiction and revelation of the story of how Sagittarius actually got into the stars, but we can talk about that later. They're hungry for expanding their minds, their ideas, their adventures, and their travels. And this is kind of a person that might struggle with keeping a steady relationship since they're just so enamored around people. So
Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like we're gonna have to do an episode where you talk about the stories of each zodiac sign. But right now, let's stay
yeah, I need to do
focused.
a little bit more research on that. It's been a while since I brushed up.
Well, we'll get there. But right now, let's go to the moon in Capricorn.
So Capricorn, these are the workhorses, the worker bees, the people that, if you're in a relationship with somebody with a Capricorn moon and a Capricorn Venus, good luck. They're productive, and that's in a special need for a Capricorn lunar body. They need to be useful. Just because they don't outwardly show it or even let people know doesn't mean that they don't have a turbulence underneath the surface of their inner being. They come across as very steady, very reliable people, somebody that you could trust your children with, somebody that you could trust a bank account with, somebody that you could have watch over your business. Pretty much is what a Capricorn is. They're calm, cool, collected, and they are not messy or leaky souls. And if they see people like that, they are very much intimidated and frightened because they just don't have time for that. They don't have time for those kinds of things. And sometimes these people with this lunar body can be extremely moody because they don't necessarily communicate well. Their inner struggles of trying to figure things out. They are the kind of people that are reserved, strict in a way, and they are definitely people that are not frugalists. They will keep their bank accounts and their way of living and even the way they walk very nonchalant, very rigid, and very precise. They are, in a sense, a bit cold and calculating. So reading these people are very hard. As such, they are not comfortable with letting go in anything, really. They very much want the control. They want to be able to fix it. They want to be able to structure it. They want to be able to control it. And even if they can't organize it, they will do their damnedest to. The basis of a lunar Capricorn to keep them happy is they need to be powerfully productive and worthwhile in the real world. That is their inner core and their inner being.
All right. Tell me about Aquarius moons.
So Aquarians, if you have ever gotten into an argument with somebody about something intellectual, this is perhaps the worst sign that you could have said argument with. They are the most observant when it comes to things. They are students of just about everything. They absorb everything. And as such, this sign is the opposite of Leo. So if Leo is flamboyant and outgoing and everything, these particular people are a little more reserved, a little more relaxed, but they're also quite often, more than not, they impress you with their minds, not so much their presence. When their minds come to the fray, it has a relishing aspect in them where they get a little bit egotistical because they know they're smart, they know they're intelligent, and they don't care about other people's idiosyncrasies. And that can get them in trouble. I know you and me have talked about one of my buddies who has an Aquarius moon, and yeah, they they have an ability to have like an amorous ego, the likes of which even Leos don't understand. They are, as far as emotions, childlike, willful. They have intensely strong needs. Their mind needs to be stimulated constantly. They try to deny irrational emotions like jealousy and fear, and they try to be above pettiness when in fact they can be quite petty themselves, which is kind of like a crazy calling the kettle black moment. They can have temper tantrums, which is a detriment because they have so much going on in that giant, massive brain. It's hard for all these idiots to understand what I'm trying to say to people. And like, I just don't get it. I'm so brilliant. I'm so intelligent. Why can't you just listen to me? The one thing about them is when it comes to little things, they can be unreliable. It is a thing. And it's in the big things though, in the long hauls, they are constant, since they're fixed. There are generally wonderful people. They make wonderful friends. And depending on how their Venus and their Mercury is, they can give you some of the most solid advice, the likes of which you probably wouldn't get from anybody else.
All right. I think there's one left, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we only have Pisces. Pisces moon.
Pisces moon. So Pisces is perhaps the most well-known mutable sign because it's the 12th sign in the zodiac. It's the last sign in the zodiac. And as such, it has aspects from every single zodiac up until that point. But we can get into those dynamics later. These people are extremely dreamy. They are free-flowing. They're very much like a river, constantly moving, constantly changing, constantly having ideas in the forms of fish into their mind. They are not always real world savvy and practical. That being said, they tend to make up for it in their intuition. They just have an inner sense of knowing what's going on around them, even if they don't have the ability to understand it. They have an ability to just understand anybody. They can feel the person's emotions and the intensity, and as such, they sometimes get a little overboard with people. They don't know how to reserve themselves. They have a sense of humor that's kind of like the life of the party. They are witty, they're quick, but they're also, the fact that they're able to pick emotions so well means that they'll play and toy with those emotions. They're very much a siren. The one negative, really negative aspect of these people is they get spaced out. They have a thought, and then the next second they have another thought. And whereas Aquarians have this ability where they can't be understood because their brains are so powerful, Pisces have this ability where they don't feel right telling people about it because their dreams are so out there and so far that you would have to take drugs in order to understand it. So oftentimes they need times and reservement to themselves to feel into those dreams and emotions and everything. These people are incredibly soft-hearted and sweet, and they have a compassion level that is, like, think of a sweet old grandma. She gives you cookies, she gives you candies, she just makes sure, are you eating your vegetables? She's witty, she's kind, she's compassionate, but they need to figure out the discernment between people in sincerity and manipulation. But if they can help round out those soft corners, they can be people that won't fall for a lot of sob stories if they can just figure out what people are what.
Got it. So I think we went through all the signs. I think we survived that. Made it
Yeah.
through all of them so nobody felt left out. If you missed your sign, go listen to it again, figure it out. Is there anything else that you feel called to share about moon signs in general, or even the
Well, I
full
think the
moon?
thing that people understand is that with moon signs, I think the distinct ability between you and me and why we're able to understand each other so well, is the fact that our Mercuries and Virgo are so incredibly able to process, take the information, and then communicate it in a way that most people can't, is what makes the dynamic of me and Shannon kind of just, I don't know, free flowing, or
Mm.
I really don't have a word for
Just
it.
an intuitive discussion. Like, we intuitively communicate clearer than a lot of things, which is interesting because you have a Leo moon and I have a Scorpio moon. And typically, Leo and Scorpio houses don't always gel well together, but I've seen it happen in other forms. But yeah, the moon sign's very interesting because it's like you said, it's a lot of what we hold within us rather than typically show the outside world in a lot of ways. So I uh,
Mhm.
I was really intrigued with learning more about the moon sign, and I hope that others reach out to you to get an astro reading if they don't have a clue what their moon sign is,
Most
because
definitely,
most people probably don't. Everyone knows their sun sign, usually. I shouldn't say everyone. Most
Yeah.
people know their sun sign. But figuring out your big three, your sun, your moon, your rising, is pretty powerful information if you're just getting into astrology. A lot of the other houses can be overwhelming unless they have somebody like you that can sit down and kind of spell it out for them. So in an astro reading, typically that's what you've done, that I've seen, is you spell it out, you go through all of it in a general basis, and then you point out the most powerful houses in a person's chart. And you typically have a recording for them and some other little notes. So I
Yeah.
highly suggest people check that out.
And we're still kind of working on getting the bases and the understandings and stuff. And it's a continuous process. So if you guys are patient, we'll definitely give the information as it comes out. And if you guys would love to hear the stories about how each sign came to be in these celestial bodies that be, we can definitely go through each. I'll just need a little time to study on most of them because um, there's a lot of mythology. Um,
Mm.
Prime example, since you're a Scorpio moon and I'm a Leo, we're both Leo suns. Whenever you see Scorpio, you will never see Orion. And the
Mm.
story behind that is that also, whenever you see Orion, you will never, okay, so I got that backwards. You will never see Leo with Orion in the sky. And you will also see Scorpio in the sky when Orion is falling. And the reason for that is because when Orion comes into the sky, he is chasing the Nemean line, which is what our embodiment is, that terrorized the community around it and had iron, bronze-like skin, the likes of which no mortal weapon could penetrate. So much so that depending on what mythos you follow, because Orion is also depicted as Hercules, that he literally strangled this lion to death and then used its pelt as a covering. And as such, one day he was laying down and the scorpion stung him, poisoned him to death. And as such, they placed him in the stars.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to have to drill you on all the other stories, but I'm going to give you a second to catch up on those. And that sounds like another good full moon episode for the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
And I think it's one interesting thing that, I have a lot of Christian friends and I consider myself a Christian as well. And they're like, I don't understand why the stars and and I was like, well, it says in the Bible that God created the heavens and the earth, right? Like, yeah. And I was like, so then it has to be good, right? In some sense of the word.
Yeah, and I like to kind of see it as the blueprint. I think I talked about this in one of your other Astro episodes. Like, we meet with spirit or God or whatever you want to call it, and we create the characters that are us. And kind of like in the Sims game or in other video games where you get to like figure out what attributes you want your character to have as it goes about the game. That's kind of how an astro chart seems to me. It's like we pick what strengths we want, what weaknesses we want to work on throughout the adventure that is life. So, yeah,
I
I
mean, I
think
didn't know I was so inclined to create a sexy beast, but
You're ridiculous. So ridiculous. This is the quadruple Leo coming out for everybody to witness over here. Yeah. So cool.
Everybody needs a little Leo in their corner, you know?
Rar. Yep. About that.
Nobody goes to the zoo for the elephants or anything. They go for the lions. Come on now.
Yeah. I tried to trap myself near the lions once. I went to a zoo and I was sitting on a bench, got my arm stuck in the bench, had to have it removed. It was a whole friggin' thing. But I wanted to hang out with the lions longer. It was really important to me to be near the lions. So look at us now, being all Leos and stuff. So yeah, okay, yeah. People, you want to get your astro reading, go to bringmetolife.com with the number 2/WonderXP. Go sign up for a astro reading. You won't regret it. Is there anything else you want people to know or places for people to find you?
If they have an interesting story or they're doing something in life or they just feel that they want to have a sit down session, we're also doing podcasts on people that are tackling heavy issues that I'll probably make a solo episode about, with things like suicide and working up the corporate ranks and dealing with loss and dealing with business and running things. It's no one particular shoe, I guess. It's a multifaceted gem of a product that you can pretty much pull any sort of information you need. And I got a country music singer coming up. I got another artist that the Inner Observer that's honestly quite amazing. I got a Air Force veteran that's doing things overseas in other countries, being a mentor. I have in the works potentially somebody that had several million followers that recently got banned on TikTok that I wanted.
You got all the peoples. You got all the peoples coming up. So check out the other podcasts and check out the things. Yeah. You can find out more information about the podcast specifically at bringmetolife.com/WonderXP. Where else can people find you on the internet?
So they can find me at WonderAW on all social platforms, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. There may or may not be a Twitter. I don't know. I don't really like water cooler talk, but you can also find me on YouTube. And yeah.
I love how we confuse people with the Wonder AW and then you threw an XP in here. But yeah, hopefully people will be able to
find the Wonder AW is me and the Wonder Experience is for everybody else.
I like it. Good call. Yeah. Cool. Now that I've taken over your podcast, is there anything you want to end with?
Oh yeah, that's just yeah. Leo over here trying to take charge, lioness, and get it. No, I don't think there's anything else I want to say, you know. Just I hope that everybody enjoys the adventures that I'm taking them on in the future and in the stories to come from people that have experienced life in ways we couldn't even imagine. And I'm looking forward to it. I actually enjoy interviewing a lot of these people, mostly all of these people, since I'm very selective of who I choose. But yeah.
Well, I sure hope that you've enjoyed interviewing all of your people. That would make sense.
I just have a busy schedule. And as you know, sometimes I overwork myself. So
yeah, it happens. Well, I guess that means that people need to appreciate what you do put out. And until next time, I hope they stay awake, shine on always. And yeah.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks again for listening to the Wonder XP podcast and following along on the journey. Go ahead and rate, like, and share this to any of the social medias that you so happily desire. Also, go ahead, if you feel the need to, bringmetolife.com/WonderXP, where you can donate to the cause and help me bring more amazing people on this page. And if you feel that you need to understand yourself better, go ahead and sign up for an astro reading where I will give you a detailed or summary version look as to what it is that makes you function and how you go about life. And as always, sometimes you just need to make your own adventure.